Trying something a little bit different this time. This is the first podcast style interview that you have ever seen on the One Grand Film channel. I had this filmmaker reach out to me on Instagram. He was actively promoting a film and he was self distributing. And because I think self distribution is the wave of the future for independent filmmakers, uh, having these conversations is super important. So sit back, relax for this nice long form story. We get into a lot of detail, specific numbers and websites and landing pages and advertising and that sort of thing. So if you're thinking about self-distribution, this might be a great conversation for you to listen to. And even if you're not thinking about it, I would listen to it anyway, because like I said, I think this might be the most viable path forward for a lot of us. Without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Wes Clark and his film, How to Start a Cult in 5 Easy Steps. Enjoy. So you're 24 years old. Most people do not have a feature film, let alone a competent feature film under their belt at 24. So how in the world did that happen?
Yeah, so great question. And I am only 24, and I actually have two movies because the first one's out now, and then the second one's in post. I just sent it to the sales agent right before hopping on. So hopefully 2026 it comes out. But yeah, so I graduated early, and I had a 6 month period before I actually would walk at graduation, and I emailed a bunch of cold emails to people in LA who were executive producers on other small films, hoping, begging that they would want to pick up a script that was going to be super low budget and, take a risk on me. And fortunately, some did. So I went out to LA with my girlfriend, and I took some meetings, and yeah, three of them said yes, and we had a little chunk of change, and then from there I started attaching. So, looking back on it, I would have done things a little bit differently. Obviously, great, it worked out, but I would have probably signed a producer or signed a cinematographer, stuff like that, before ever going out there. I had a deck, and obviously, YouTube channels, and things like what you do online, like all of those things help and are resources. But yet I still managed to kind of do it out of order.
Yeah,
Um,
well, let's back up and break that down though, because I think so for my audience, a lot of them, some of them have been in the industry for a while. Some of them have been, kind of hammering away at scripts and screenplay competitions, or, auditioning themselves to death, or they're stuck in sort of short films and corporate world and sketches, and they just don't know what the path forward looks like. You, what did you actually, so you said you had a deck, but what had you done before? What sort of proof did you have to be able to bring to these executive producers that you were even capable of creating something with money?
Great question. So, right. So, hopping even further back, I made one short in college called Casting Dad. It stars Philip Andre Patello, great actor in SAG, and he's not famous or anything, but he's been in a bunch of movies. And so I made that. That ended up going to Prevo, which is this streaming service for short films. Those guys are great. I've gotten to know them a little bit over the years. And so that short was kind of my proof of concept of I can make a film. Pretty much nothing outside of that. I had a strong business plan and kind of business mindset that I brought to it of, hey, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a long shot of making money, whatever, but I'm not just going to give it to a distributor and have them kind of make it disappear, which is kind of the go-to story these days. I was like, hey, we're going to go do the deals and see what they have to offer. But if they don't offer anything that's meaningful, we can turn them down. And quite frankly, we can market ourselves. And I think it's that mentality of being entrepreneurial while being a traditional filmmaker that's set it apart and have people interested from the get. Because
And
that
this is the short you're talking about?
no, when I went to them and how I kind of convinced the investors,
I see.
the
Okay.
short was always proof of concept, and the funds for that came from a grant from my school. I went to them and said, "Hey, I want to make a short, and we have a filmmaking club on campus. Can I make it?" So I think they gave me $5,000, and I went and made in short.
Was that the total budget for that short?
Yeah, yeah, that was the total budget,
Nice.
and it
And
looked
what
good,
was
but
the length of it?
it was about 14 minutes or so.
Okay. Did you take it to festivals at all, or?
I am not the biggest. This is going to be get me in hot water. I'm not the biggest festival person. We sent to a few, and it got some awards here and there. Nothing crazy, no like con or anything. Um, I have designed my career, if we can call it that, in 2 years of being in the industry around no virality. I don't shoot for like waking up one day and having a video hit a million subscribers or something or views. I really do believe in the long, slow developing, build a community around you, people who like your work, be consistent kind of mentality. So that short was the plan for it was never to go anywhere and make all this money. It was just to be, hey, it looks really good. The story itself is well told. The shot selection is unique, but not artistic, where it's like uninvestable,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes young filmmakers have that kind of tendency too. I definitely don't personally. So it didn't go anywhere other than be helpful that I had it and it was good enough to actually be sold technically and go to Prevo and be streamed.
Yeah. No, that's, I mean, like I think I there's a lot to unpack because you know, you say you've been in the industry for 2 years. Like you're, you know, 15 years ahead of most people already. And so you've clearly been coming at this from a completely different angle than most people do. And I think that's why it's worth having this conversation, at least for my audience. Because my audience is in like desperate pain. Like a lot of them are in their third or fourth quarter of life going like, I've been working a corporate job, you know, 9 to 5 thing forever. And I thought that like creative need desire to make something it would go away. And in fact, it intensified by neglecting it for so long. So they're like searching for answers to get any of this stuff done. I've seen very few examples of short films leading to features getting funded. So, and I love what you're talking about. I think playing the long game, building an audience around you, you are the proof of voice rather than the concept. I think people go out and make concepts that could be executed by anybody, but the fact that you're out there kind of showcasing your voice and taking that to smart people who can invest in you is 100% the right business plan. I guess I'm curious to hear your take on why festivals doesn't play into that. Because in my mind, that's what a festival is all about: is meeting investors and building an audience around you and your work.
100%. So there's kind of a couple perspectives I have on it. Let's start at like the top ones. So the ones that are going to make your career jump, right? That virality moment, which I do not plan for and I don't submit to, is Con, South by Southwest. And these are great institutions. These are not knocks on them. They're fantastic. They do great work. They produce a lot of very high level talent. And you know, maybe one day in the future, I would love to be a part of it for some project that I've done. But I think at my age, at the budgets, not having a star in the film, things like that, you know, the odds of you getting in are almost nothing. So I remember
True.
that, yeah, it's actually less than 1%. And that's for general, and then actually specifying your film, it's probably even less than that. Because obviously, if you have a star, it's more than 1%. So it just depends.
Right.
Um, so I don't go to those. Anything on the other side of the spectrum, you know, where no one goes, no one cares, no one's ever heard of it, also doesn't matter. So that's probably 50% of all festivals right there.
80,
And so,
90.
yeah, not right. So, you know, you're really in this thin lane of important, people kind of know it, but also don't. That short didn't really get into anything. My movie got into Seattle Film Festival. That's like on Film Freeway, that's a top 1%
That's
festival.
SIF, right? Yeah, SIF is hard to get into.
No, so SIF, so there's two. They're both fairly well known. SIF and then SFF.
Oh,
Uh,
SFF. Okay.
we never even submitted to SIF. But SFF, which is also top 1%, they're both very good festivals.
Yeah.
SIF longer and probably more well known. But they, you know, so like that we got a semifinalist at, and so like that matters. Like that actually helped.
Yeah.
We went to sales agents, they cared about that, and then we got offers. So there's things that can help and you can do those things. But in terms of actually building your career, I think that there's a lot better ways to do it these days than a festival. Festivals are getting more expensive. You have to travel for them because you do need to go to them. So if you submit to one across the country, you do need to go.
100%.
Also,
Don't submit if you can't go.
correct. Don't submit if you can't go. And so it comes down to, well, what are the better ways? These days, I think that the notoriety comes from, if you're my age, start a YouTube channel, right? Post behind the scenes, going on podcasts, talking to people. I think that there's a lot of better ways to kind of get your name and your face out for a lot cheaper and a lot quicker than going to festivals. And again, that's not to knock what festivals do. I think they do great work. And if you can go to one and you can get into the top level ones, you shoot for it. But for a lot of people, they can't. And I think that that's where my mentality comes from. It's like, why waste the time? Why waste the money? Just do everything online and kind of make your voice there instead.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I think that's a really great perspective and kind of alternative path to take. I've personally had great success at festivals, even, not top tier ones. Like I've currently got a film submitted to like South by Southwest and Tribeca and Slam Dance and stuff. I know I'm not getting into Sundance or Cannes. Like I've got no false, illusions of that. But even like my second film got into Dances with Films, and that experience of having a premiere at the Chinese theater, and I think the powers that be can look at something like that, and it just lends validation, but also I'm not looking to meet fans there necessarily in terms of, an audience that will show up and buy my movie, so much as how can I meet distributors, sales agents, producers, and things of that nature. So higher end people that I like to call signal boosters who can help, package your next film, make them fans of what you do. So when it comes time to package or sell your next film, they're the first people you reach out to. That's the
Right.
people that I've met at festivals.
Yeah, 100%. I personally have met those people online. And as weird as that is, like this has become kind of the easiest, quickest way to do it. So my second film is going to be shown to sales agents, but better ones that I probably would be able to reach on my own, entirely because on LinkedIn, an executive producer, producer of this or that will post something and I'll respond to them and DM them and be like, hey, like that's super interesting. What about this? And those relationships, if you do it well, can actually matter and mean something and kind of lead to other things. So I think there's a substitute for it that can be quicker and quite frankly also not rely on you getting in, right? That's the other thing
Yeah.
is like at the
Yeah,
day to
absolutely.
go to that festival, you have to get into that festival because just going,
No,
you can buy a ticket,
100%.
that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so interesting. Okay, awesome. So let's jump into the so you got offers. Are you comfortable talking budget of what you spent on your film? I think you said micro budget or low
Uh,
budget.
yeah, I'll talk about budget. I won't talk about who the sales agents are because in the future I might want to take a deal with them. But
Yeah, no, that's fair.
yeah, so the budget was 80,000.
Okay.
Raised it across three different groups, two people in one group. Um, and
When you say groups, do you mean crowdfunding or do you mean?
no, so it was a VC who actually ended up funding my second film.
Oh,
Uh,
amazing. Okay.
yeah, so they're called 741 Films, and yeah, they liked the work I did on that one, and then came in on the second one.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so 80,000 and you got offers. We won't talk about who they're from, but what did those look like and why did you ultimately decide to turn those down for this film?
Yeah, so even before we got to distribution offers, we got sales meetings. We had several sales agents reach out. We went with one that was more niche in our genre and also a little bit newer, just because we would be the only one or maybe one of three projects that they were going to push for. We had some better sales agents in terms of size, but they largely wouldn't have cared about us.
You're part of a catalog at that point. Yeah, it's
Right.
tough.
And so that catalog mentality is what the distributors went for. So we had, in the indie space, you can kind of imagine if you're in this industry, kind of who approached us, but we had pretty top level distributors. When I tell people off camera, they're always like, "Oh yeah, okay, like those are the best indie distributors." Minus a few, but The deals were the sales agent 15%. That's pretty normal, maybe 10% if you're lucky, something in that range. I've
Yeah,
heard people say it was 20% before, but that
20. I've had yeah, my first one was 20 and I
yeah,
ended
okay.
up leaving them. Yeah.
Yeah, it says you should.
Yeah.
So it was 15 for them, and then the distributors, it was anything between uh 20 and 30%. Most were 25, so it would have been 40% of the movie gone, right?
Mine was
And
50.
yeah, right. So 50.
Straight off. Yeah, like
Yep.
crazy. Yeah.
So when you're doing that math, and then on top of it, they have expenditures that they both sales and distribution need. So the sales were going to be about 5, which was very low. We negotiated that, but the distributors wanted more like 10 to 20,000. So that means the
Yeah.
first 10 to $20,000 that they get in, if they get that in, goes directly to them. So
No
it's
matter what, they will I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't know is like they write those numbers and then they will spend that regardless.
yes.
That is them writing themselves a $30,000, $20,000 check in your name, uh, and then you might make money on top of that. And then yeah, finding one that is honest and that will show you transparent books is a completely other story on top of that.
Yeah, no, it's insane, and like honestly, they're very predatory too. Like
Yeah,
just to be honest with you, extremely predatory, and it comes from the catalog mentality. So if they would have put our movie on Tubi and Stars and Amazon and Apple and like all the places that all the other films go to, right? Anywhere where any indie film has gone, that's where it would have been, and that's great. Like my mother would have been like, "Whoa, wow, my son has a movie on Tubi." Uh, Money gone. Like you're not getting a dollar because what those companies rely on is people watching. So they either get ad revenue or they get subscriptions. And that just means that they need new content every month, which means that they're not going to spend $200,000 per movie or $1 million per movie when they need 200 movies a month. They are going to take them all for free and promise the world and then not give anything, which is great for Netflix, works for them. Like 100% great business model for them, honestly. But if you're a filmmaker, it's horrible. It absolutely is unsustainable. And as an investor in film, it's unsustainable. So that would leave in the future the only people who can make money or make movies at all are Amazon and Netflix and would have been Warner Brothers, right? The people who actually stream it directly and have that pot of gold essentially from monthly subscribers or advertisements are the only ones who can make the movies because any other business model would just fail essentially unless you do it yourself and it's a much harder road, but the reality is that if one person buys the movie, you've probably made more than any of those distribution offers would have garnered us for at least 5 years. And that's the other part of this too, is that they take your movie for 8, 10, 12 years, uh, gone. So if you become famous in 5 years, if I make some movie with some A-list and then other people are like, oh, I want to go see his first movie, it helps them because they still own it. I don't own it anymore. They take the film. So yeah, the deals are horrible. Like you cannot take them as a filmmaker.
right. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I've been through all of that myself. And one of the things when you reached out to me that I found particularly interesting was that you're like full bore self-distribution, and I want to know like what your strategy is, what your plan looks like, how how long it's been, how things have gone versus how you hoped they would go. Yeah, tell me all of it.
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say to this is that the distributors will not market your movie. And so
Correct.
whether you take my advice or you take a normal distribution deal, which looks really good to all your friends, but will not help you financially, um, you need to market. So no matter what, you always need to market. And that's something I wish I knew when I started, and it's something I know for the second movie I'm doing, but it's not one that I knew for the first. So I'll just kind of caveat that. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up now. Um, that being said, so I was looking at Bitmax, I was looking at Film Hub, I was looking at kind of these traditional methods, which is what a lot of filmmakers will do when they go self-distribution. Um, there's nothing wrong with those. The problem I have, which is not a percentage issue and it's not a money upfront issue, The issue for me is that you can't build a community in the same capacity. So, when I was starting out, I was with this company called Moving Picture Institute. I did a bunch of internships with them in college, MPI, and they had I got lessons like summer series lessons from Hannah, and she would talk about how if you wanted to be famous, this was the wrong industry, like you're doing the wrong thing.
Totally.
And I think that that's true. The problem is that if you're a filmmaker these days, notoriety is not bad. That doesn't mean famous. I don't want to be on billboards, but having a niche audience of 50,000 people on YouTube or Instagram, that matters because that means that you're going to be able to pump marketing to those people. And on an 80K budget, I only need 25,000 people to watch it to make all the money back plus, right? So actually less. So, having that kind of baseline, that does matter and kind of building up. And when you have a website, there's a whole bunch of financial things you can do that are really, really great. So just to be specific, and I think that this is something that every filmmaker should be doing no matter what. Even if you give to those distributors, you'd still be doing it, which is you make a website, which is kind of your like centerpiece. That's where you send people,
Landing page. Yes.
landing page. If you did those normal distribution routes, you send people, hey, watch it here, 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 here. Fine. Have your trailer, great. But here's the other things you do. These days, make merch. You can make merch. Let's say 30 people out of thousands of people buy, and that's it. And so far, we've had 22 people buy. Okay. Every person who buys something on the merch store is like 5 or 6 less people you need to actually rent the movie. So in order to like make that money, right? If there's like a number that you need to hit, right? Exactly. And so like so sometimes I wear it on screen, sometimes I don't. But like I have shirts,
Yeah.
right? I have shirts, I have hoodies, and these are walking billboards, right?
Yep.
So, a bunch of people bought this shirt or hats. And what they do is they then walk around and people go, hey, what's that shirt? And now you have another person. So you want to do that no matter what. And it's not even a matter of, oh my God, no one bought it. It's like someone might, and you want it to be there.
Yeah.
So
You'd
that's the
rather
first.
have it than not have it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a reason why every famous YouTuber has merch. I mean, borderline, they're making more money from the merch than they are from anything
Well,
else.
and that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't know if you've read Kevin Kelly's 1000 True Fans. It's
No,
an it's an article. It's on KK.com.
okay.
It's an article by this wonderfully brilliant guy named Kevin Kelly. And the whole concept is if you're an artist and you create enough art where 1,000 true fans, people who know your name and love what you do, can buy 50,000 or $50 worth of your stuff every year, you can make a living as an artist. And so this pop socket we designed and ordered from Alibaba for like we got like 1,000 of them for like I don't know, $500 or something like that. So I think we were paying about 25 cents per, but we were selling them for $10, which means I've got a $9.75 profit off a pop socket for the movie, where if I get a rental on that film, I'm making a dollar, $2.
Right.
So, like you're saying, you need to sell significantly less merch to recoup budget versus the film itself. So did you consider what your merch would look like when you were creating the film? Because I think I try and think from that aspect as well now too.
Yeah, so this is where the catch up portion of this comes from. I did not originally. The guy who did like hundreds of beavers or whatever that movie is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I love by the way. He has a saying where you want to put a character in a big hat and then you want to wear that hat everywhere you go for the next like 5 years. Um, that's true. Like having a kind of a staple thing that they wear that you can then sell when people are like, oh, I love that, or it looks cool or whatever, that does matter. And it's not filmmaking. And I understand people are like, well, this isn't filmmaking. It's like, right, but it's all the economics of it. So
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't do it for that film. I will be doing it for future films, and I did kind of in the second one. But yeah, I think you have to do these things. So that's kind of the merch side. There's other things you can do with the website too, which is like DVDs. So there's a company called Kunaki. There's a couple of other ones. The physical media space is obviously shrinking, but it's still $900 million a year in the United States. just under $1 billion. Not saying you're going to be $1 billion, but again, we've had 3 people buy it so far, which is fine. But I get more money from that than I do from 4 people renting the film. So great. Like we're gonna try to get people to get DVDs, and that's only been up for like 3 days. I just got it to work because it took a long time. And again, it's like a little bit of extra effort, but you want to push these things.
The payoff, it's a little bit of effort in the front end,
Right,
but you're creating an infinitely scalable money machine. So as people do come across the film, they fall in love with it, they fall in love with you, they have things they can buy, and that increases your bottom line, which is brilliant. And I couldn't agree more. Like every filmmaker needs to be thinking in this way. We cannot be just an artist who creates and goes like this
right.
and puts the art into the world and hopes it does something. Like I saw a Reddit post the other day that said, "My film just released and crickets." I was like, "Yeah, what do you expect?"
Yeah,
Like big studios pour twice the budget into prints and advertising. So we don't have that. So how else can we do it? And what you're talking about is exactly right. Having a landing page, having merch, driving people to one place. So I think that's the biggest mistake that I made on my second film was I had a distribution deal,
mm,
50%, but I made money on dollar one. I basically made 50 cents on every single dollar made, which in the beginning was awesome because they were doing a little bit of marketing. They were running some ads. They cut my trailer and my poster. That was all built into the cost. But eventually I'm like, so in year 10, like you're still taking half the money. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the, but where was I going with that? Um, I totally lost my train of thought.
one landing spot.
Oh yeah, I didn't have a place to capture I had millions of people watching the movie. Like I had Tubi and Apple TV and Prime Video, and we were coming up in like, the top 100 films, top 40 films, top 50 horror films. We were on these lists, and I didn't have one concerted place that I could send everybody. And that's what you're talking about is audience capture. Like, how do you take them to a landing page, to an Instagram, to an email list where they can actually become a fan. So it's not just this film that they watched once and then just goes into the abyss of, Tubi
Right.
depths. So I absolutely love that that's what you're doing. I wanted to ask, so is the only place to watch your film on your website, or do you have it on other areas? So tell me about that decision, because I think that one's particularly interesting.
Yeah, no. So great question. So this is like the thing that everyone kind of gets me at. It's only on the website. You can rent, you can buy, you can get a DVD. Those are kind of your 3 methods there. Um, the website's very smooth, like going through the process of actually watching it, paying for it, whatever is very smooth. Trial and error, 5, 10 different ways to do it. Um, the amount of money that I capture from the website is significantly higher than if I go anywhere else. So these same deals that you would get so if you go to Bitmax, right, and then you go to put it on Amazon, or you put it on Apple, you're still losing like good chunks of money from everything because they're still taking a percentage, which is still 30, 40, 50% depending on where it goes, what platform we're talking about. And so the easier you make it for them to go and watch it somewhere where it's free for them, the way less money, right? So maybe I would need 10 people to watch it on, you know, whatever, like Tubi, to make the same money that one person would get me, if not more, quite frankly, on the website. And so it's like driving them and having the exclusivity of doing it there is kind of the driver for me. I
Okay.
don't want people to kind of randomly stumble upon it. I want them to have heard something, seen something, come to the page and be interested in the page. Now that might change in the future. I don't know, but at least for now, building kind of a community around The film where it's all there, nothing's kind of, you can't find anywhere else. It's exclusive. It's kind of like an underground film in a weird way. Like that's kind of all part of the mystique in my view. And that's what all the marketing does too. So, that's the other side is like, it's great to have the landing page, whatever, but like, how do people find the landing page? What you were saying about having that distributor that you worked with for the second film, um, cut a trailer and actually put marketing dollars. We need to do that for ourselves. So
Yes.
I'm putting 12 clips out on YouTube. We put $10 behind each one. And then I'm very diligent about which ones perform the best. That test is still running. We'll find out which ones have the best ROI ratio. And then I'm gonna put probably $100, $200 on the top 3 or 4 clips, right? The ones that actually garnered people to go to the website. And this is all trackable data. These are things that you can do. And it's not just on that, but I put them on Facebook and Reddit and Instagram, whatever. By far the best one, not even close, is YouTube. YouTube's has been way cheaper to get people to the website. You can't necessarily track exactly because it's self-reporting on the website where they came from when they bought it. Some people just don't respond, whatever. But if we're just going off of dollar in to getting them to go to the website and look at the website for the first time, hands down, getting the YouTube clips is like way better. I had one that got 65,000 views, that like the clip in like a week, and it got for like $25, $30, it got like 5,000 website visits. And so it's like that's huge. I mean that the ratio there is enormous.
How many of those turned into purchases?
So that's the part that I can't necessarily tell. It disproportionately the purchases are coming from YouTube. I can see that information, but I can't 100% be like this to this clip, right? So that's the hard part. It's like when people go and buy, I could put something in there being like, was this the clip you watched that made you want to watch, or that? But I don't want the viewer experience to be so
Are
bogged
you
down by
doing
like,
it? Because this is my world. For One Grand Film, like everybody that learns about me right now is coming through paid advertising. So this is like 100% my world. So this is what I
yeah.
want to really kind of double click on. Are you using Google Ads to do that, to run your YouTube ads?
I'm running promotions through YouTube. So like the clip is
Okay.
out there, people can just watch it.
Okay.
Um,
So this is where I would, if I've got any advice for you,
yeah.
set up a Google Ads account,
Yep.
run the exact same thing that you're doing right now, but you'll put your Google tag on the purchase page,
Hmm.
and it will tell you exactly which clip they clicked on, how much of it they watched, and exactly what their journey was going from clicking on the clip to what's the CTA on the clip? Can you click directly on the clip to go to the website, or do they have to go to your YouTube channel to find the website to watch?
No, they can click the like that video will go to watch, and I get like the impressions, views, and actual like go to the website information. So I
Okay.
get I get most of it. The only thing I don't see, which obviously is an important one, is the actual like purchase from that. But for
So
me, like it is just how many people go and watch. Because the reality for a film is a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to watch this, but they're at work because it's 2 p.m. and they were clicking on YouTube and they shouldn't have been, and they're gonna watch in 3 days, right? And so
yeah.
not necessarily that correlation. So for me, it's really just is this video per dollar getting them to go to the website? That's what matters to me.
So are you familiar with Mark Toya?
Like it sounds super.
He
No, let's say
he made a movie called Monsters of Man.
no. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, he spent $1.7 million dollars of his own money making this really high-end sci-fi robots in like the jungles movie. And he got a bunch of offers for $1 million from the Netflixes of the world, and he turned them all down because his friends had taken those deals and they were like, you can chase those around for a year and not actually get the money.
Yep.
So instead, he raised $25,000 on Kickstarter and sank 100% of that into ad spend on Meta.
Hmm.
So he cut 40 versions of his trailer. He found through testing, like what you're talking about, he found the one that the audience responded to the most. Uh, he found the one that was kind of far and away the winner, and then he sank $25,000 into that. And for every $25,000 he was spending, he was making $1 million in profit.
Yep.
This is like the big ring the bell moment for filmmakers in understanding basic marketing principles. I think the big thing that I would say for you is like, yeah, tracking views is good, but on the dollar for dollar like count, being able to train the algorithm on who is purchasing so it knows who to serve that video to, because they need to serve it to people that are high intent, not just people that are going to click, spend your money, look at a trailer, and leave the website. And so that's the benefit of going with something like Google Tags, going through Google Ads and running the same type of ads you're running now. And really building out a website where you can track and follow exactly where those purchases go. So the difference between what you're doing and what Mark Toya was doing is he had a landing page as well. It's still up. You can find it today. Unfortunately, he died in 2023.
No.
So he's got this one like Indiana Jones, gold statue sitting on a thing for us all to come and look at, but like he's not here to really tell us how it works. He did a really good interview on Indie Film Hustle about the whole process. But so he built a landing page. He went through an aggregator, I believe it was Quiver, and he put his film on all the major websites. And so, depending on whatever you watch stuff on, whether that's Google Play or Vudu or Prime or Tubi, you could click your preferred thing from there. He can track the view, so he can watch the ad, see people are clicking over to the website, use a heat map to figure out how much of the website people were viewing. But right at the top of the page were four buttons, and that's like Google Play, Amazon Prime, Vudu, and Tubi. And so, yes, he's having other people or just other platforms there, but the point is he can put his advertising dollars into the front end at 25,000 bucks. He's getting a 40 times ROI, and it's going to a platform that is tailoring the algorithm such that new people can find it because it does end up on the top of the charts. So it becomes more of a flywheel effect where it's not just based on your own advertising efforts.
Right.
It's not one to one like yours are now, but it's actually building out that algorithm so it's serving it to people. He's still capturing reviews. He's getting all of that stuff. He got Rotten Tomatoes on his page, so everything to build legitimacy in the mind of the audience that's discovering the film. But that is the thing that I'm like every filmmaker is should be doing this. Like if you're going to go through the trouble of making a film and you're going to spend 2 to 3 years, sometimes more, of investing every bit of creative energy you have into doing something that you hope will take you to the next level, this is unequivocally one of the most important parts of it. How do you get it out there? How do you recoup your ROI? Uh, how do you market your film? What you're doing is wonderful. Like, I don't want to knock that at all. The challenge that I would say to you is I think you're giving yourself more effort than is necessary by having it on a platform that people aren't naturally stumbling across
Right.
versus like if you're going to go dig in, the $5 bin in the Walmart thing, hey, your movie might be that one in the bin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've effectively taken your movie out of the bin so nobody can find it unless they've engaged with you or somebody that's already watched the movie. So that would be the only like not critique, but I guess piece of advice I will personally kind of take into mind on my films if I decide to go the self-distribution route because I'm like supremely interested in this, and I think that's why I wanted to have this conversation. Like, how do you feel like it's going? Because I know you're playing catch up, but you're getting views. People are coming off of YouTube cold and watching your movie. So how's that been?
It's been good. So the only number that I haven't looked at, and I've promised myself not to look at until the new year, is the actual like purchase number.
Hmm.
I get very obsessive about things.
Hmm.
Very good actually for what I'm doing, but it can sometimes be a bit of a detriment. And I don't want my level of effort to differentiate from like, oh, it's going well or not. So I don't know that. In terms of views to the website, at this point, it's got to be between all of the videos, it's got to be close to like 15, 20,000. And the ads haven't actually really ran yet because I'm in the prepping stage. And then the only other thing that I've been doing is I email or text or whatever 25 people a day. So people who do movie reviews, they have a big following on Letterboxd, they do whatever. And I probably get out of 25 something like five of them responding, which is fine. But those people will then do it, and now it's another like 3,000 people that goes out to them. So I don't know that number. So, throw up another couple $1,000s on there. But some of it worked and some of it doesn't. So, the podcast kind of stuff like this seems to really work in a micro level. So let's say only, I did one last week and I think there's only been 50 people who watched, but those 50 watched that person's podcast every week. And so they're pretty likely to go watch that film. And so you're going to capture a much larger percent of them. Versus, if someone, these Instagram accounts that do movie clips, I most of them I have not paid for. Almost no one I've really paid online to do things for. But some of them, some of the very large channels I had to pay money for. And so someone who has like 1 million subs would post a clip. Um, those get a lot of views. And I think as a filmmaker, I fell into this trap of, hey, well, it gets a lot of views. People are going to know about the film, so they're going to go watch. The reality is that works for the big movies, but that works for the big movies because they can do post after post after post. And so you just get bombarded with, wow, this movie's everywhere. I have to go watch this movie. As a small indie film, like you get one post, there's 300,000 views on that post in like 2 weeks because it's a huge account, but it's cheap. It's likes and it doesn't like they're not spending money. And so the capture on that was actually really small. So what I find is that the more niche and actually like 5,000 follower channel that is getting like 400 likes on every single post, those are the ones that I care about. And those are the ones that I kind of make deals with and talk to. And a lot of those people I've then gotten into conversations with and I've been chatting with for like 2 weeks now on Instagram. But those guys like me. One of them is this like a meme account who watched my movie randomly and he's like, dude, I love your movie. And he's been posting a meme of me, of my movie every day for the last like 3 week, for the last like 2 weeks, week. And so like I think he has 4,000 subs, like keep seeing my movie just over and over and over. Like that matters. So,
Yeah.
so those kind of things have been really working out. And I think those bigger people are really for the big guys. I don't think that it works the same capacity. If you can get it for free, that's great. They're not gonna, from my experience. But if you can get it for free, that's great. I think that is lovely and it's nice to have, but it won't help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love what you're doing. I love this sort of co-podcast idea where it's like you're not just relying on the other person's podcast to do the work, but you're
Right.
sort of framing it for your own audience as well and your own experience and taking it to your own platform. I think that's a really, really powerful technique that I'd steal from you and teach to other people for sure. Because I think it's very tempting to just like say, all right, I'm going to go on a bunch of people's podcasts and assume that those people are going to go watch something, but that still leaves a lot to chance. But by you brokering deals with creators and saying, can I post this on my own channel as well? I think that at least a little bit more guarantees that the people that follow you, are paying attention and actually going to take action at some point.
Yeah, and so this actually leads me to another thing, and I've never talked about this before, so this is potentially interesting as well. But my first film, so I'm 24. I made that film at 23. I have a second one now that's in post. That's what this sign is from. This is
Oh,
from.
nice. Okay. Yeah,
Um,
we should before you jump too deep into that, let's actually
yeah.
talk about your movie because I feel like we
Okay.
brush
Yeah.
right over that and you should cut this part out and put it at the beginning. So,
I can do that. Yeah, we
yeah.
can.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so anyway, my movie is called How to Start a Cult in 5 Easy Steps. I spent a long time on that title. Marketing matters. You want a title that stands out. The poster is this very bright pink abomination, but is fun and cool, and also stands out. And yeah, it was micro budget. We actually filmed around my neighborhood where I grew up, in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. And we got a lot of local places to kind of let us in for free, which is really cool. A record store and a pizza place and all kinds of places. And yeah, it got a lot of attention now for having pretty good distribution offers relative to the indie space, and then turning them all down. Um, and I made a clip about how or why I turned them down, and kind of the essence of the story, and that got 65,000 views like in a couple days. And then that yeah, that kind of drove people to kind of reach out to me as well, which is kind of cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the essence of it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the one you're currently marketing, and you've got
Yep.
a second film in post. What was different about getting that second film made versus getting the first film made?
Oh, very different. So, it's funny. A lot of people give you a lot of advice. I have mentors who do $150 million movies that I've cold texted or emailed at some point in the last 5 years. And they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you as my like little mentee person. And whatever, they're great. And they give me a lot of advice, but they're coming from a period where, MGs are real, minimum guarantees are real, where, you made one short film or you made one feature, and then 20th Century Fox came and picked you up. And that stuff just doesn't really happen as much these days. You hear about those stories. YouTuber gets picked up by A24. I have yet to see a movie that person's made. And some of those articles are from 2 years ago. I don't know what happened to
Yeah,
that
I mean
movie.
the Rocka brothers with 5 million subs went and made
Yes,
Talk to Me, and yeah, there's a
the one.
couple of those, but those are so dangerous to trust because those are outliers. So yeah,
Correct. Yeah,
you can't follow those as like, oh, that's the path.
yeah, and I again, if you're planning for virality, like you're screwed. Don't do that. I don't think it's worth your time or your effort. But going from the first to the second, I now had a movie, and so I could be like, hey, like this movie looks really really good. I have a crew, and the crew is high level, and I know what it costs. So all of these budget items are exact, even though it's a small budget, rough budget, whatever. Like I know exactly what it's going to cost. And then it was really just about finding the right story. And fortunately for me, someone who invested in the first one was a venture capital company that does these micro budget films. And so they were like, hey, we'll fund your next one. I was actually in conversation for a different film that was going to be a little bit more budget than that one. And then a producer I was working with was not a great guy, allegedly, we'll put out there. But I would never work with him again, allegedly. And the normal story that we hear everywhere else of
Can we dox him on the show? Because I'd like
I
to.
would love to dox him on the show. We're not gonna, but I would love to.
Okay, all
If you
right.
do any amount of research about me, you'll find out who it is,
Okay, fair
allegedly.
enough. Fair enough.
And
Yeah, I like the quotes and the allegedly.
well, he sues me, I'll sue him by all means. I'm
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it. But yeah, so he was a bad guy. That deal fell through because of him and some shady stuff that he was doing because he's a shady dude. And then I was like, hey, I want to salvage this deal. I'm hungry. I want a movie. Let's do this one. I'll take a smaller pay cut, and it's a smaller budget, but I just want something. I'm hungry. Let's do it. And so they said yes to that, and then off to the races, right? That was shot in May of 2025, and it's done now. I mean, the beauty of being indie is like you just work as fast as possible. Get your team, get it going, and as a director, I pair with David Newbert, who did Willy's Wonderland. He's my cinematographer, and so for me, I can show up on the day knowing it's gonna look good because I got him right there. He's gonna do his thing. Done. Like it's just going to come out looking cinematic.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's kind of the story. And then now, you know, that having the first one now out and kind of the second one, now it's kind of opening up a lot more to, hey, like write this screenplay for $20 million movie, or do hey, do you want to be a producer on this kind of like 1 million, $2 million project? So it's kind of opening up from there. My view is that all of those things are super nice, and I do them. I write that script. I do that. I'm signed on as a producer to that. And these are all things that I hope happen. But the bigger the budget, the more unlikely it will happen. And so I focus still, even though I have two small budget movies, my mentor's like, hey, the beauty of being young and being you is that you can go do another $300,000 movie, $200,000 movie, whatever it is, 500,000, like whatever it is, and do it in another year, right? And so in
Yep.
3 years, you could have three movies. So I'm very focused on that as my next thing, and I have a series that I want to do as well. That's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, I'm kind of now branching out into bigger projects, but kind of keeping from a director standpoint, smaller ones kind of like near and dear and kind of what I'm going after.
I love that. This is exactly what I teach anybody that comes through One Grand Film is like, the whole Mark Duplass thing, like the cavalry isn't coming. Every ounce of success that you can rely on is going to come from your own effort.
Yes.
And you should make a concerted effort to roll your current film into your next film and into your next film and think about how to make them bigger and better. How do you accumulate assets along the way? How do you find the cinematographer from Willy's Wonderland? How do you connect with him on a collaborator level so you know he's just built in. It's not some big crazy ask anymore, you know? And so I think 100% like you're doing it the right way. And I think that anybody looking in from the outside at a 24-year-old with, two films, uh, would be remiss to say you're doing something wrong or you should change tactics. Like you're doing something really, really right. What was the Can you talk about the budget of the second film versus the first?
In generality, I don't know. So the beauty of the first one when you go and you raise money is that you're in control. So I can say where that movie's going to go. I
Yeah.
wanted to put it on a website. I wanted to do a bunch of weird things. That's the end of it. When you work with a VC, you have real contracts. We had contracts for the first one. We have real contracts where they have lawyers and
Big
there's all kinds
scary
of things.
contracts. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, it's just things that I don't know what I can do and what I can't do. For instance, like if we're going to sign with a sales agent, that does not come down to me. If we're going to sign with a distributor, or hey, I don't want to go to a distributor, I want to do something else, that actually doesn't come down to me. Now, it's not my money, so like ultimately I get it. They're in control of it, but it does, and as a filmmaker, I have a percentage of the movie, and it's a nice chunk, and right, so I'm bought in. And I have creative control. I wouldn't have done the movie without having that, right? So I get the final say of the film.
Hmm.
But in terms of the financial stuff, I don't know. So I won't talk in specifics, but I will say it was, let's say, at least double what the first one was. But still, that leaves super low budget, right? I mean, that leaves
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
almost. But what that allowed us is like we could actually pay for a location, which is really nice because we rented this spooky, terrifying mansion place that we had for 3 weeks. And so that money was well spent, and it's for me, it's all about spending that money on screen as much as
A
possible.
100%.
So, we had to build fake walls and we had to build fake doors and we had to do like all these kind of visual things that, some of these were like we built an entire room out in this mansion that we needed for two shots that we spent probably, I don't know, like 4 hours in, but it was pertinent to the story and we needed it. And so we're gonna make it. Probably cost $3,000, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for us was a lot of money.
Yeah. It's a big
Um,
chunk of the budget. Yeah.
yeah, big chunk of the budget. But it also means that we can do, we can market things and we can, like there's things that we can do that are kind of cool and different. Um,
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask is like, how are you, when you level up, first of all, what was that like? Did you increase crew size and cast size as well, or did you keep things as lean as the first? And what did the cast and crew look like on your first movie? I guess the first movie, the cast is what, like 10, 8?
yeah, so if I'm gonna give advice for someone making their first movie, don't do an ensemble cast.
No, I just
Um,
did a 6-person cast in 12 days, and that was a nightmare. Coverage is impossible. Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't shoot coverage. I don't believe in shooting coverage. I will storyboard everything. I have an artist background. I was an artist as a child. I would do academies around the world. And I will storyboard the entire thing. I'll shot list the entire thing. And then I will bring it to set, but I won't look at it on set unless I need to, but I'll memorize it. It's just imprinted in my head. So when we get to the shot, I know exactly what we need. And then Dave, my cinematographer, will be like, you sure you don't want this? And be like, nope, we're moving. It's just very quick. We're going to the
Yep.
next thing. Um, Yeah, I mean, the ensemble cast was not ideal for the first movie. We went to fewer cast members by a lot on the second. We had five in total, and two were very much extras for the next
Wow.
one. So it was really only three. And then I will break down the budget. I do all the breakdowns and everything myself. I don't have producers on set anymore after the first experience. I don't want As a director, I don't want anyone who can pull me into a room at any time and start telling me things. I have people who will like work out lunch, and like things that I shouldn't be doing as a director because like that's like going to be detrimental. But I don't have anyone who's like above me on set. I don't like that personally. So I'll AD my own film. Like I'll be like, hey, we're on schedule or we're not on schedule, because I know how many shots are in the next scene. I know how long it will take, stuff like that. But I'll budget it even to a point where it's like, hey, we can film it kind of weird where we don't need these three people today. We only need this one person, and we're gonna film like half a scene even. So there were moments on the first movie where we didn't have the ensemble cast yet, but we filmed half the scene because there's kind of like a monologue bit from one of the characters, and we just did all of those shots. And then we
Smart.
came back later and we didn't need the star that day, and we only needed everyone else, but they're way cheaper. And so like we can cut it down to a point where, and then it's just as a director, it's like keeping it in your head, like, okay, the emotional tension, he snaps at this point. They need to react to that. And like, so, as long as you have it in your head and you kind of have it plotted out, you can do it. It really isn't the worst thing in the world. It maybe it's not best for your actors, but it's good for your budget. So
Yeah. Well, how many shoot days did you have on the first movie?
13, which is the exact same we had for the second.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then crew size. Your cinematography looks incredible for an $80,000 film. Like, hats off. What did that crew look like? And how long were your setups?
Yeah. So we had crew size of maybe 10. Yeah, probably about 10. Uh, the cast at points were larger than the crew, which is not a good thing. Don't do
No,
that.
it's hard.
Yeah. The crew for the second one was smaller. So the second
Really?
one is handheld, but
Okay.
set up. So it's like like we know the camera is gonna land here. And then it's having like creative points. So we would have, Dave would be the camera op. And so it's like in someone's hand, but it's not, right? So there's like an actual like operation. Be
I
like, hey, we
see.
want it to land here, right? And like, so then you get everything. And so you kind of able, and then we had security cameras. So we were able to set up different weird angles everywhere, and really make these like intricate shots. So we went down for that. What I would say is, we had a really, really great cinematographer. Dave is fantastic. We had a very good gaffer, who came with all his own stuff, knew his truck back of his hand, and then we had swings. So we didn't have like key grip, second grip, third grip. We had someone who's like behind him who could be helping with lighting, but could also push something, right? Or like whatever it was. They just filled in.
Yeah.
Um, I don't believe in not paying people. Every single person was paid. I don't do that. There's no like free PA. That's not a thing. I think you should get paid to work. It's also like legally you have to pay people, so you should. Um, and then, having a good sound guy. The sound guy is always the most expensive. Police. But yeah, sound guy is always the most expensive. So, and then it's really just having and making sure that he has what he needs. But we had a one man band for that too, Steve, who did great work, and I hired him again. And that's the beauty too is I film in Pennsylvania. Both my movies were in Pennsylvania, and I will continue to shoot there. They have a 25% tax credit. They are super, super supportive. Kevin and Gino, they're the ones in the office of indie films. And so they want you to come make your $50,000 movie there. And they will give you 25%. They do not care. And they don't require you to do this massive audit. The state will do the audit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Louisiana, where we shot my last two films. Well, three films. Yeah, they're the audit's $5,500 just to submit the application. Before you get any money back, you're paying into, a pretty significant chunk. So that's
yep.
nice to hear. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
job,
I
Pennsylvania.
have to say, if you're making a micro budget, go to Pennsylvania. I cannot stress enough. And I know I happen to be from Pennsylvania and I get it. I would have brought my film somewhere else. I would have. I love
Yeah.
Philly. I want to make stuff in Philly, but bottom line, it's just the best state to make something. If you're making something over $1 million, all right, we can talk about some other states, but
Sure.
you're under. And quite frankly, I'm right now. I have a meeting with them set up for next week about a series that I want to do on YouTube. It's kind of like a weird new way of doing like TV and series. Um, and even that, they're like, hey, this is likely going to count. We need to know the specifics, but this should fall within a tax credit because you're going to bring work to the state. Great. Like,
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
huge.
Yeah, huge. I mean, massive. So I recommend everyone, honestly. PA.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so what's the plan with the second one? You said it's done, but no festivals.
It will go to so we will submit to festivals.
Oh, you will. Okay.
Yeah, the first one we submitted to five. We got into three of five, so pretty good batting average.
Very good. Yeah.
uh, and then this one will probably go to more. Again, I don't have as much control over it, so it probably will go to more festivals. It's a horror suspense movie, so called The Psychic Files. You can imagine what it's about. But yeah, so it'll probably go to a lot of horror festivals, and then um, my guess is we'll go probably mainstream distribution, only because I don't get a say as much in it. And also, that genre matters, right? So first movie is a dark comedy. I love dark comedies. That's what I want to do movies as. I want more dark comedies in the world. But horror films, suspense films, thrillers, any of those, there's a real marketplace and a real way to make money. And the beauty too is like as you build your career, I've met more and more people. And so one of the producers I met online, he has access to a lot of much better sales agents than I would have access to normally. And so he's like, hey, send the second one. If I like it, we're going to send it to, this company or that company. And that's what's going to happen now. So he has that film now, that producer, and he'll help me out. And, I work with him on some other stuff. So that's kind of the trade-off. But
Yeah, brilliant.
yeah.
So end of 2026, second half of 2026, most likely? Or do you think you'll
Yeah.
do
I
a
mean,
festival, like a 6 month festival run?
yeah, we'll probably start submitting now. And then, yeah, maybe, I mean, honestly, probably Halloween. That's my guess. I mean, why not? It's a horror film.
Yeah,
Uh,
saturated. That's the issue.
yeah, but the
Halloween
reality
release.
is people have this view of, you have to make all the money back in a weekend. That's wrong. If you're going to go to
That's if
theater,
you're theatrical. Yeah,
right. If you're going to theaters, that's right. But that doesn't matter for my first film and it won't matter for my second film. Neither of them are going to theaters. So when you have that disillusion out of your mind, if you're looking at it as hey, what can we do in 3 years, right? What can this ad get me in 3 years? It's a much different game. That's why when I say, hey, I don't really know what the marketing has quite done yet, it's because I'm running the tests right now. I'm running the 10 different clips to see which one does the best. And three of them have done horribly, and two of them have done absurdly well. Like maybe a penny for 10 people to go to the website. I mean, just really, really well.
yeah, yeah.
And so, like, I'm willing to take a month or two to run that and then run the ads over the next year. I like that is perfectly fine. So and it's the same thing with, when the second movie comes out, I'll go on a bunch of horror podcasts. There's a lot of them. And
I know. Yeah,
I'm gonna probably be wearing merch from my first movie. And then we'll probably talk about both movies. And now, hey, these horror people liked that one. They might want to go see the first one. And so you build up this resume. And this is something that I was gonna get into earlier. But I started this YouTube channel as 5.5K subs, which is not crazy as of 2025 December, but it's only been up for 6 months, right? So it's like decent growth for 6 months.
it's huge. It's great.
And the reality is like there's a weird thing, and I don't know this answer yet, but it's something I've been exploring. There's this weird answer as a filmmaker of do I spend that money to promote a clip for this movie, or do I spend that dollar to get more views and then subscribers to my channel? Because someone who subscribes to my channel is going to see another 10 clips in the next 3 months about that movie. And so it's going to be that consistentness that you get from a big movie, right? Big movies have billboards everywhere. And so you're just completely bombarded by it and you want to go watch it. But that's what a YouTube channel does. So if you have 5.5K subs and you want to make those ads if you're going to do an ad to get subscribers in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada. Like you
The
want
big
it in
six.
English
Yeah.
speaking, right? Like wealthier generally countries. And then you want to uh, have those people subscribe to you and just see your content constantly. And then when you have a second movie, they also want to go watch that one. And so that's the other thing is like you get a buy-in and you get a community, like you were saying with the 1,000 people who, finance you. You can't just have 1,000 subscribers because not all of them are going to be that engaged. But from 5,000, maybe I have, 25 right now, right? And so when you get to 50, you have a lot more. And so it can build up to a point where, okay, like you actually do have these people who are willing to spend money on you. And it's not like you said, like a lost ad spend where like, hey, they watched the website and then they never actually watched the movie. Well, if they subscribe to you, I'm gonna bet that that has a way higher percentage of actually watching the movie and watching future projects and telling their friends about it, and maybe they subscribe. And it's like there's a world where you might want to spend for every dollar, for every $10 you spend on just a normal ad, you're spending $1 on yourself to try to get more subscribers. And that's not really something I've done. I haven't really spent all that much money on actual subscribers. Usually it's pretty natural, and that's what I try to do. But I think that there's a world where that dollar is a little bit more important than we give it credit for.
No, I completely agree because harnessing the audiences is everything. And ultimately, the powers that be, the decision makers, look at the built-in fan base. They
Yes.
look at the actors, they look at the director, and they say, how many assumed butts in the seats do we already have? Because that's a piece of the budget that they don't have to figure out how to recoup.
Yes.
And so I've actually seen a lot, might be worth experimenting with, of just boosting your highest performing YouTube videos. So if you have ones that took off, like this is why I turned down all of the distribution offers, put some money behind that because that gets people interested in you, your decision-making process, and your film all at the same time. And that's ultimately what's going to get people to keep showing up. And I think that's why we follow artists. We don't just like their art. We want to know what makes them tick. And so for you to have a YouTube channel where people can fully find out not about your art, but about you as well, like I agree. I think it's going to be uh, imperative for every artist right now because we don't have giant agencies and PR people and millions of dollars to, spend on ad campaigns and stuff. So it is like, how can I find the people that are already interested in me? And we live in a brilliant world where like algorithms are reading the text of your video. You don't even have to hashtag anything anymore. You just talk about the things you care about, and then these big tech companies put your stuff in front of the people who are most likely to connect to it. So, yeah, well done.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it is just the future. I think that again, you don't have to want to become famous, but wanting to have a following and a base behind you. I mean, that's been happening forever. It's looked different, right? It's a new way that it looks, but it's the exact same thing that people have been doing in this industry for a long, long time. And it's easier to do it now than ever. I mean,
Yeah.
certainly ever. Yeah.
Yeah. The barrier to entry is zero. Now it's just saturated.
Yes.
You're fighting for attention. So you got to put up a fight. You got to create interesting things for people to watch too, and that's the other half of the battle. But yeah, I love what you're doing. So next movie is already shot, is coming out next year. Now you're planning hopefully for a series before a third movie. Is that right?
Yeah, so I can talk about the series a bit. This is my 2026 project. So like I'm
Okay.
gonna be posting a lot about it, and hopefully collaborating with a lot of people on it. I wanted to rethink, and I've been rethinking how we do shows and through pumping out uh stuff for this movie, it's completely changed my perspective on like how you can recoup money as an investor. So what I want to do, it's very cheap these days to get views. It's unbelievably cheap. Um, People are way willing to go on YouTube and watch a Mr. Beast clip that is 50 minutes long, and like it as long as they don't have to buy anything. Okay, so
Hmm.
free TV is the way to go. And actually, that's what the big guys do too, grand scheme of things, right? So Tubi is entirely free, and what they're really after is they're after, my God, please. And what those big guys are actually after are advertisements. That's like how they make their money. And so giving the experience to the average viewer for free is really important to me. And then having a subsect of that being paid on Patreon or whatever it may be, and then having advertisements, merch, and otherwise being the actual driver of sales is what I'm thinking. So it's called working title, but I think it's going to be this Best Podcast Never, sitcom about a group of friends in Philadelphia who want to make a podcast, but it's failing. And every week they need to get a new person on the show. Okay. And it's always a constant struggle because it's kind of bad, but it's kind of good and, whatever. And so what I want to do is from the producer down to the extra, everyone in that has some kind of following, some kind of background. So the director should be someone who is an Instagram director or a YouTube director. Maybe they've made a movie, maybe not, but like that's what they care about. That's what they're passionate about. That's what they love. They have a following. And I don't mean followings have to be a million people. They can be 25,000 people, but they have some kind of following, some base where they make content about that. Same with the base actors. There's all these people on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube where they talk about auditioning and they talk about going out for this, thing, or maybe they got this movie finally. And they should be the stars of it because they have natural built-in followers as well. And then there's a guest, right? So there's a guest who plays themselves every week, every episode. So what I envision is an 8 episode series, 20 minutes, 15 minutes long each, one guest star per, and they should be the kind of the biggest name. Everyone else should kind of be more micro, or some could be bigger. And then that's all free. And then what you're selling instead is advertisements. So you can sell, a 5 second spot at the beginning of each episode, maybe $2,000-$3,000 a pop, and then merch. And then it's because it's called Best Podcast Never, there's a podcast. And so every guest who comes on the show is also being interviewed immediately after. What was your experience on set? What is this like? Oh, you just did this. That's so cool. And so now you're doubling content up to podcasters. So someone maybe finds the podcast, but not the show. Well, now I want to see the show. What are they talking about? And you can then do a Patreon off of that. And so you can do the first 30 minutes of the interview is free. And then the next 30 is a Patreon account plus some behind the scenes. And then you can sell experiences. Hey, do you want to be an extra in the next episode? Do you want to do this? Do you want to have a live stream of us making it? And I think that there's a way to do these shows where it's a little bit of a proof of concept. And there's kind of people who have done this before where like they clearly demonstrated that there's 2 million people who subscribe and they love this show. And then Amazon comes and they buy you. It's like that's an option. But there's also a company called Glitch Company, whatever. There's a channel called Glitch Online, and they have, I think, 15 million subs, and they have not sold to anyone. And they make all these series that are super cool. And people go to their Patreon, they buy merch, and they watch their stuff. And so it's not about actually the creator fund. It's not making money from YouTube, but it's giving the content away for free, finding the 1% of people, the 0.5% of people who really liked your stuff, who are then going to buy experiences, merch, Patreon, etc., and giving new content, fresh content to these people who are mainly online, who might be willing to work for a little less because they get to make content off it. And hey, if it gets picked up by Amazon, now this director who made this series is now going to go make the same thing for Amazon. Like that is huge for their career and partnering with those people. So this is what I'm really, really passionate about for 2026. I think it's a new model that hasn't been done before, but it's super, super interesting. And, for a series, you can raise $200,000. And as an investor, that's going to fall under PA state tax incentive. So you're going to get 25% back. So your 200 just became 150. It's advertisement. It's not even like requiring people to buy that you're going to make the bulk of that money back. So now your risk is down to another maybe 50 to 100K. So now your risk is only like 50K. And then it's, hey, are people going to pay for, merch? Are they going to pay for this or that or whatever? What are the experiences we can offer? It's completely new, but I think that's a better model given the current systems. That's what I wholeheartedly believe. And we'll find that out in 2026.
Yeah, no, I love the hypothesis. I'm super interested to hear how it pans out. Please keep me updated when you launch it and everything.
Will do. I'm gonna, my view is I'm gonna do it from start to finish. So starting 2026, I'll make one video to start off. Hey, here's my idea. This is what I want to do. Shoot it really well, make it like a normal YouTube video, and then just showing stuff along the way. Hey, we just partnered with this guy. This guy's gonna come direct. Hey, this is gonna be the producer. And again, everyone's gonna have kind of a background, but when you build up a community like that, when you go to an investor, if you have a million subs between all of these different people who are already engaged, the risk profile for them is way lower. It's the same as getting an LOI from a big movie star, but just on a micro level. And I'm not a big believer in LOIs, but who is involved in something like this does matter, 100%. So we'll see. Maybe it fails, maybe it doesn't, but I think it's interesting, it's new, and I think it's less risky for investors, which is like really what drives me because I want to make it
Yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that most filmmakers don't really ever think about, at least newer filmmakers, is how to recoup ROI. And that is
Oh yeah.
the thing that keeps every filmmaker from growing and being able to fundraise is everybody's running around with an expensive idea and no idea how to recoup investment. And then they're confused as to why they're not getting funded. And it's like, if you can give somebody what you've just talked about, an intentional way to make money back in a myriad of ways, so it's not just banking on one channel, one avenue, I think you significantly increase your chances of finding somebody interested in what you're doing. So, yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Did you have anything else you wanted to cover while you're here? You're basically on my channel, like you're speaking to a bunch of people that are either thinking about or are going through making their first feature film for the first time ever and thinking about growing their career off the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, just like a word of advice from a 24-year-old who also doesn't know what he's doing, but seems to be working out. Borderline, you just need to do it. One of my mentors, Andrew Sadrowski, he did Manhunt. He did a whole bunch of movies now as well. But he does like $50 million movies that he writes. And what he told me when I was still in college was you need to just make something. And I know that that's what your channel is about, and that's why I reached out and why I wanted to talk with you. Is that mentality of just doing it is going to weave out 90% of people, and that's a good thing. That
Yep.
90% should not do it. This is not a like a game. It can seem glamorous and it can seem like a game and all those things, but it's really tough. I mean, it's really, really hard to make a career, and it takes years, and it's like years of making no money. Um, but the payoff in 10 years, if you do it well and you do it correctly, is a lot of money, right? And so like that's why people want to do it. And so I think that weaver is great. So if you're the type of person to hear, hey, you just need to do it. $1,000, go make something. Great. Like you're going to do it. And you're going to probably do well. And if you're not, like honestly, be thankful that you didn't, is kind of my mentality. Because if you keep hearing the same advice from everyone and you still don't do it, like it's a bit of a sign.
It wasn't made for you. Yeah.
Wasn't made for you. And the reality is these days, like if you make something for $1,000 and then you go and you market it and you sell it, okay? Because you can sell a short. You can make a website, you can tell all your friends and family. It's almost like doing a crowdfunding, but like you're at least giving them something, right? That's kind of the difference. You might be able to make $5,000 from it. Then you should make another short. And then you should
So
sell
we're doing
that.
features.
Right. But my point is
Features
like,
for a grand, because
right, but even
then you've
better.
got, yeah, that saleable asset, and where
Right.
shorts struggle to get sold.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole premise of one grand film is like you could make a feature for the same relative effort that you make a short film if you
Yes.
think about it economically enough. And so that's what I'm teaching people to do, because exactly what you're saying. Make that. If it fails, it's low risk, high reward. So you
Yes.
just throw it away, pretend it never happened, learn everything you can from it, go back, try again, make it bigger, make it better, and rinse and repeat. And exactly like you're saying, grow that fan base, keep them coming back for more, keep them interested in what you're doing. And if you keep pushing, you will have a career.
Yes. No, 100% agree. And just steady increments. I mean, that's the reality. You can just build it step by step and get up there. And it works. It does work. But you see, I mean, that's the people at the top, that 1%, whatever, they all did the same thing. I mean, it's like
Yep.
really, it's not that complicated. It
Yep.
just takes a long time. That's the reality.
And it takes that dedication to just put your head down and do it
Yeah.
and not look up every 5 minutes and go, is it working? Is it working? Am I doing something wrong? I should change tactics. Like just keep your head down, keep making stuff. And like you said, the byproduct will be a career.
That's why I didn't look at how many people have bought it. I don't think it matters. I mean, it will, and I will have to look at it and like whatever, but it shouldn't change what I do. So why look at it? It just doesn't matter.
More importantly enough, your first film got your second film made.
Oh
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
That's it. That's exactly what I tell everybody. Everybody's so hung up over distribution, and it's like that doesn't matter. If your first film helps you, if one person sees the promise in it, and that one person can help you get your next film made, your first film did its job.
Correct. Yep. Couldn't say it better myself. Exactly.
Awesome, man. This has been great. Thank you for being so transparent and open. I think there's a lack of that in the industry,
Yep.
and I think it's all about working together, especially as massive corporations are trying to monopolize, movies at the top. The advantage that we have is being nimble and sharp, and I think there's strength in numbers, and I think trading insider secrets is what keeps us, gives us an advantage. So thank you for being a part of that.
Yeah, thanks so much for talking to me. And again, I love the message you're putting out there. I think it's 100% right. So, yeah, no, this was great. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Wes.